In 1935, Edward Hylant, our grandfather, founded the agency here in Toledo, put a deposit in at the old Toledo Trust for $500 and rented some space in the same building and started selling insurance, small commercial and personal insurance in the community, and that's how he was going to make his living. And our father, Robert Hylant, who was their only son, had gone to Culver Military Academy, was a freshman at the University of Michigan, went immediately into service, was wounded actually in the invasion of Normandy the day Paris was liberated. And while he was recovering from his wounds, for which he got a Purple Heart and a Silver Star, our grandfather, Edward, died.
In order for our grandmother to continue the business, she had to seek out and find a partner or sell the business.
So she goes out, she goes down the street, she finds the best guy at the next shop, and Jack McLean joined the agency as a partner and started to grow the business.
And he and my dad worked together after my dad recovered from his wounds and did a little bit more schooling, then they were partners together.
So then Jack worked for 10 more years, and then he died in the mid-50s, 1957.
1970s was an interesting time in the growth of Hylant, as that was the period of time that the older Hylant boys were joining the company. We were expanding in other areas such as employee benefits, which Pat started, and Steve started concentrating in personal lines.
In 1982, Dana Corporation made my father an offer that he just couldn't turn his back on. It was a very rich offer for the firm, and he decided that it would be best interest for all involved that he take the offer.
Dad had worked really hard his whole life, 9 kids, many of us in private high schools, and everybody went to college, and he really worked hard. And the opportunity came up with the offer from Dana to make himself a retirement that was going to be comfortable and get out from some debt. So personally was really very happy for him that worked out.
We worked with Dana for 3 years following that. The reason Dana sold it back is they had some very difficult times in their own industry and found the insurance industry to be a diversion from that. They approached Pat and Fred Kitchens, the two principals, prior to the sale to Dana. And at that time, Scott Stewart, who was a client executive and a very integral part of the company, was asked to join him in that repurchase. Well, in 1987, Hylant McLean was a very large broker in the Toledo area, but really had no operations outside. So it was decided that we would start an operation in Detroit, which had an industry similar to Toledo, just a lot more of them.
You had to have a licensed agent in the state at that time, so I had to forfeit my Ohio license to move up to Michigan. We moved up to Lambertville, Tina and I did. Got my license up there, and then they moved to Troy, and then we moved on to Cleveland after that.
So we ended up there with a few accounts that were Hylant accounts that had Michigan operations, and we started with those and then just started knocking on doors. And I'm proud to say from the 3 people we have there, we have almost 70 in Detroit now.
1989 was an interesting year for Tina and I. We were just starting our family. We had just decided, Pat had decided to open the Cleveland office. He had hired a president to do so. The day that the president was supposed to join the firm and start the office, he didn't show up for work. The beginning of the Cleveland office was a PNC only operation. We had a rental office with 1 desk, 1 phone. We traded the phone back and forth, making cold calls. And from there, we just started growing and growing and growing. So by the time I left Cleveland, we had nearly 100 employees, and we were a full-service insurance agency at the time.
When Hylant decides to expand, we really look for cultural fits. So the communities are important to us. We don't make an acquisition just to get into a community.
The Columbus office was founded in the early 90s through a partnership with Hylant McCloy. We purchased the property casualty division very small acquisition at the time, but it gave us the foundation to really build upon our expertise in the Columbus marketplace. Hylant Administrative Services started on October 3rd, 1994. It handles alternative risk and looks at groups of similar businesses who can join together and buy insurance as a whole.
In 1997, we were hitting our strides relative to opening new offices, and Jeff Sanders, who was in Columbus, it was his opportunity to move into Cincinnati and open that market up for us. Great community, fits well within our footprint. We had customers already in that community that we could service locally, and it's been a great community for us to be in.
I remember in 2000, it was time to retire the McLean name. It was time for us to move on since we were in so many cities and to create the brand that we now have today.
My brother Richard went to school with a guy named John Hindle, and John had benefit options in Ann Arbor. I think the initial idea was to start that and then seeded a few property casualty people from Toledo and Detroit into that office to expand the property casualty part of it.
The Fort Wayne office was started in the early 2000s with the acquisition of O'Brien and Sanderson. A year later, we did an acquisition of Benefit Consultants of Fort Wayne, which was a great match, and marrying the two agencies together really has built us into Fort Wayne what we have today. We are the largest agency in the area and the largest independent agency in all of Indiana at this point. Hylant entered the Indianapolis marketplace in 2002 with the acquisition of Conseco Risk Management, formerly known as Wells & Company. It included both an office in Indianapolis as well as in Bloomington.
So in 2005, we acquired Dobson McComber, which was an employee benefit and a property casualty operation, merged that and benefit options into that, and has grown since then.
Hylant saw the growth in West Michigan as an opportunity in 2006 as we opened office in Grand Rapids. We quickly went forth with an acquisition of R.W. Bars & Company, which was a benefits shop in Grand Rapids, to give us some base within that town. Today, we continue to grow in that marketplace and our premier agency in West Michigan. We saw the growth opportunities in the Nashville marketplace in the late 2000s and decided to open office in Nashville at that time. We've grown the office since then and did an acquisition of a benefits shop to help supplement the property and casualty business that we did there as well. As we looked at the growing talent needs for the organization, in 2008 we opened an office in Chicago. It's a very large marketplace. We compete with all of the national brokers. However, in spite of all of that, we have picked up some great talent and we're making our mark within the Chicago marketplace.
So in 2008, my brother Mike became the CEO, succeeding my brother Pat, who stepped away from that and continued his role as chairman.
It was an interesting year because we were on the heels of going into a recession. It was a very difficult period of time for the business. One that perhaps was more challenging since I was new to the position. But again, with a lot of support of the people from around the organization, the talent we have, we came through the recession in a very strong manner.
Well, in 2012, we acquired AGIS, which was a benefits operation headquartered in Detroit and Birmingham, Michigan, with offices in Indianapolis, Orlando, and Jacksonville.
We made a strategic acquisition, growing Hylant into a bigger footprint in employee benefits because of all the disruption caused by the change in the laws relative to healthcare reform.
Winning the best places to work for 9 straight years as awarded by Business Insurance is really important to us. It highlights, a cultural aspect of Hylant that's key to us as owners as well as our customers that experience our service model.
Employees feel that the organization is a premier place to work in the insurance industry and differentiates ourselves from our competitors.
We get very interactive and frank comments from our employees that suggest that there are things that we do very well and some things that we need to get better at doing. And with that candid feedback has allowed us to change the organization as the years go on to be a better place to work.
The award is truly about the commitment to our employees, right? You know, we commit to education, we commit to a wonderful workplace, we commit to people's charities that, you know, are important to them to support their own communities.
If our employees are happy and comfortable in their work environment and enjoy coming to work, then they can do better work for our customers. And they stay here longer, and that's another experience that our customers feel and enjoy. So we'll keep working at it, I think, every day about how to make the employees come to work energized and engaged for themselves, for the benefit of their families, and the benefit of our customers.